Welcome to Pyramid Times. Myself, Veena Suruvu. I'm a VP at Pyramid Times, and we have with us an amazing guest, dear guest, Saroja Gullapalli. Saroja Gullapalli is an engineer and a former senior corporate professional from a MNC in Melbourne, Australia. She is also the founder of Beyond Your Mind Foundation, Crystal Children Corner Academy, and also Saroja's Holistic Living and Awareness Counseling Program. She is also a award-winning motivational speaker, self-empowerment coach, holistic counselor, and the author of the book The Red Rose. She received Victorian Multicultural Award for Excellence from the Australian government in recognition of her meritorious service to the community. She also received the title of Brahmavidwanmani at the spiritual conference MDMC in Kadthal in 2019. She has been doing community work for the last 20 years under the umbrella of Saroja's self empowerment platform. As part of her community work, she has conducted over 500 workshops and sessions in Australia and abroad in the last 10 years. You can find her workshop videos on her YouTube channel, Saroja's Self Empowerment Workshops. She has numerous support groups running all over the globe. In 2020, she has inspired millions of people to reach within through her wisdom sharing series in 3 languages on a famous book, The Untold Story of Sita, telecasted on the PMC channels. Through her Crystal Children Corner Academy, she is currently reaching out to thousands of children around the globe. With this, I welcome Saroja Gullapalli Madam to our show. Welcome, Madam.
Hello, Veena. It's a pleasure to really be here on your program today. Very nice to catch up with you on this session. And as you were reading my introduction, I really felt as if all that you're reading is just making me a bit old. Really, did that much happen in my life? Thank you for reminding me once again.
That's amazing. I was just going through a lot of other videos of yours as well. They are very inspiring indeed. So, can you share us a brief story of your own journey before self transformation?
Yeah, honestly, Veena, seems like it is ages ago, isn't it? Though it's only 19 years back, feels like, a century back. As we all say, there's always a milestone in our lives, Veena, which is a marker that you can never forget. And if you look at your life and see your life, then it is before that marker and after the marker. So you're basically asking me what was I before this? To cast back my memory, as you know, I'm an engineer by profession. So a master's in electronics and telecommunication, electronic instrumentation. I started my life off in Australia as a project executive, and I had been working there for quite some time. And before this transformation, the way my life was going is like anyone's life. I was quite happy at work. I had 2 beautiful children just born then. I mean, I had a 6 years old daughter and 8-year-old son. Very kind husband, Harish. And our life in Melbourne was absolutely beautiful. We actually arrived in Melbourne around 29 years ago now. So, yeah, things were really good. And I've been really enjoying life quite a lot. The kind of personality I am, honestly, is a very go-go kind of a personality. I like people. I love doing things all the time. So in Melbourne, I've always been a very popular and very busy and active person in the community, especially for the Telugu community in Melbourne and Australia. I've been quite a leading figure there, helping them to do their annual things. And even at work, I've been quite popular just because I love people. So to honestly say, Veena, my life before my transformation was just full on. 24 hours were not enough with 2 young children and a full-time busy career, plus my involvement in community work, which was just keep the social groups going. So in a nutshell, that was where I was before this great transformation happened. I was really loving my life in a different way, in a whole different way. I was loving every moment, the work that I was doing, the money that was coming in, the beautiful children I had, everything that materialism could give me had given me. And the lovely family cycle and friend circle that I had, I thought that was life, Veena. I was quite happy with that.
That's amazing. And what brought you to this spiritual transformation?
That is $1 million question. And no matter, Veena, how many times we talk about it, there are some things in life you never forget. So, as I was saying, my lifestyle before this beautiful marker called self transformation was going on. I was quite busy at my work. I had quite a bit of responsibility at work. And I used to travel a lot especially international travel. I worked in a multinational company where the headquarters was in US, so I used to travel a lot to the US. And it was one of those times, Veena, when I was on my international travel. This was regarding one of the design review meetings that I was doing on one of the project that I was leading back in Melbourne. So if you talk about the time, I think it was 2002, Veena. So I would say my transformation or my spiritual journey, it started on a beautiful afternoon. I think it was October 2002. I was in Chicago on a business meeting, and it was on the last day of my 2 weeks meeting, Veena. Just in the middle of the meeting, I mean, we almost had finished it. It was the last day. I was supposed to pack up, board my flight back to Melbourne. And it just happened in the middle of the meeting. I honestly felt as though my life stopped. And I was in the meeting, winding up the meeting, addressing those 21 people there in the room, and everything stopped for me. And I had no clue what was happening. And three questions just peered at me. What am I doing? And why am I doing? And is this what life is all about? And Veena, honestly, mine that was always running at 200 kilometers per hour. As I said, I had a very busy life with two young children, a lot of international travel, a busy social life. So it was always a go, go, go kind of a life with multiple lists on my fridge. And that afternoon, Veena, that kind of a life just came to a halt all of a sudden. And I found myself in this new space. And this was a space of profound stillness. And out of this stillness, as I said, those three questions that were just peering at me, and I just felt a void within me. I was being drawn into this void every moment because everything stopped for me. No thoughts, no emotions, no words, no actions. Absolutely, Veena. And I traveled back to Melbourne, literally in that void. I really don't remember. At Chicago to Melbourne via LA is a long travel. And as you know, we are on two different sides of the globe, the US and Australia. But I really don't remember much because I was in a state of stillness. Everything had stopped. I never knew till that point of time what was it like without thinking. And that next few days till I reached Melbourne, and I honestly had to go back to work, Veena, and take a few days off because I absolutely had no idea what was happening to me. So I just came back, went to work. I said, look, I need a couple of days off, and I came back home. And all this is happening within 24 to 48 hours time span. And I was just I came back home, Veena, and didn't want to even speak to my family. And I'm a kind of person, honestly, a chatterbox, nonstop keeps the family going. And if I don't speak at home, Veena, my house will be still, like standstill. But at that point of time, I really didn't want to say anything. So my family was quite taken aback, not knowing how it was. Children were quite young, but my husband, as he's very understanding, he gave me that space. He understood there was something going on. And as I just went for a walk, because there was absolutely something that I was not understanding beyond my understanding, as I was walking on the street, this is a walk that I was taking in the next 48 hours of all this going on. My first spiritual guru, as I always call Veena, came into my life. Can you even imagine you're just walking on a road and you see some person coming across, and they just come and tell you, just follow me. And I just followed, Veena. I absolutely had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. And that great master, who was actually one of my neighbors, I had no idea. And she took me to her house and she asked me to sit down. She didn't even ask many reasons, and she taught me meditation. Um, But honestly, Veena, I didn't know it was meditation because I had never meditated in my life. So I absolutely didn't know what the hell I was doing. But at that moment of time, it never occurred to me that I needed to ask any questions. So I just sat down. She said, cross your feet. I did. She said, interlock your fingers, place them on your lap, and just be with your breath. And everything fell into place. I had absolutely no questions. And I understood every bit she was saying, though it was my first time. And that meditation, I didn't know it was meditation, but as I sat there, that my first sitting went for 3 hours, Veena. Time stopped for me. A kind of bliss entered within me as I sat there for 3 hours. I only knew I sat there for 3 hours because that lady, she really tapped on my shoulder because she got a bit worried that it's been 3 hours and I was not waking up. So she had to tap on my shoulders and she said, Saroja, it's been 3 hours. Do you have to pick your children from the school? And when I came out, I thought it was only 5 or 10 minutes that I was sitting. And she said, no, you've been sitting for 3 hours. And I thought, what a bliss did I really undergo just in that time. I just felt the time had stopped. And in that 3 hours, Veena, the visions that I've seen, the places that I traveled, I had no idea what was going on, but profound experience. And I didn't know this was in store waiting for me. And that was the beginning of my transformation of, I don't know if we can call it a spiritual transformation. And now I think it is. That started in that Chicago, in that meeting room, Veena. So that was my spiritual transformation moment, which had absolutely no reason, no rhyme. I think it was my divine plan. Now I can understand everything, Veena, but back then had no clue. I'm so indebted to that master, who I just bumped into out of nowhere. But you know how it is, Veena. Now you understand everything. When the disciple is ready, master walks in. All that philosophy and logic, I teach everyone. I know it by heart. But back then, 19 years ago, obviously I had no clue. And this great lady performed, I would say she was my guru who walked into my life and taught me, how you can go within yourself and how you can find everything within you. And all the restlessness stopped. The 48 hours that was going within me and I was not understanding, everything made sense. So biggest transformation in my life was that moment, Veena. If I can,
Yes.
if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, it's totally a divine encounter indeed. And how was your life after this transformation?
Very amazing, Veena, because that sitting of 3 hours absolutely put all the restlessness to a full stop. I felt like this profound bliss that had completely enveloped me. And I thought, my God, what was it? Something that can change within me like in minutes, like that. And then after this sitting, I did ask her, I said, what did I do? What did you make me do? It was so foolish. I asked her, I said, did you hypnotize me? Because I'm an engineer by profession. Everything is logic and science. And the only thing that made sense to me that day was maybe this lady has hypnotized me. So I did ask her this question. I laugh at me now, Veena, but I asked her, I said, did you hypnotize me? And she laughed at me and she said, look, I don't know what hypnosis is. She said this, but I know what you have done. And she explained me. She said, you have done meditation. And this is the breath meditation. So when you're with your breath, you travel within yourself. And I was thinking, how come I didn't know about this? I thought I had this breath all my life. How come I never connected to this breath? So I was so curious and I asked her, I said, how does that happen? So she said, you need to understand more about this. No matter how much I tell you, it won't quench your thirst. You have to go, you have to find out, you have to read more. If in the first sitting you can sit for 3 hours and can just go into bliss like that, she said, Saroja, this is your change. You go ahead, explore. And honestly, Veena, I had no clue where to start from. And I said, what do you want me to do? So she gave me a list of books. And the first book in her list, which you can obviously think, like many masters who have gone through the same experience with me, Veena, in her list, the first book was go and read this book, Autobiography of a Yogi. I never heard this book before. People might think I'm an idiot. I've never heard this book before, but that was the life I was leading. I was never in a group that could suggest me a book like that. Never had the necessity. Life was going so happy, so graceful. I never had to wonder about what was on the other side of life too. Absolutely no questions. But when this woman told me, you know, find this book and read it, I didn't even ask her, Veena, where will I get this book? I straight away went to the library. And now you might, that day, I didn't even question how did this happen, but miracles happen in life when we are ready. I went to the library. We have a local library in Melbourne, that suburb that I live. Veena, I did not ask anyone for help. Where can I get this book? I straight away went into the philosophy section. And this is how I went. I straight away went and placed my arm on my hand on a book and picked it up with a confidence that that's the book. And behold, that was the book of Autobiography of a Yogi. But I never questioned. That doubt wasn't there in my mind. I knew that was the book. I picked it up, went to the librarian, asked her to issue the book. And she said, wow, that's a great book, Saroja. You're going to enjoy. I said, did you read it? She said, of course. So I thought, oh my God, in what world have I been living in? So I took that book home. And you know, Veena, like all the spiritual aspirants, the next few days, I was, oh my God, there's a whole new world that I have not explored. And after that, Veena, you know what happened? I took sick leave for a month. I applied leave straight away. I mean, I had a lot of leave left over. So I applied leave and I said, I need time off because I had to explore this, that I had newly found this bliss. And next 1 month, Veena, all I was doing was going to that lady, that auntie, getting a list of books, going into the library, placing my hand on a book, picking it up, knowing straight away that was the book, reading, meditating, and that's all I remember. If there were 24 hours, I had stopped sleeping and I was only meditating and reading. And then I saw the miracle in my life, Veena. Nothing changed outside, but everything had changed inside me as I found this new space within myself. And this space, which I call a space of present moment, here and now. With every book that I was reading, with every minute that I was spending within myself, this space of here and now, I was getting more and more used to this. And living from this space of now, you know, it was something that revealed within myself involuntarily. All my faculty of awareness was becoming alive. Until then, I didn't know where this awareness was within me. I was so oblivious of myself and I was living a life. And then all of a sudden, I'm so aware of everything that was going within me, not only within me, Veena, but around me. I started back work, but my perspective had changed completely, Veena. And with this new perspective that I had awakened within myself, this new space of here and now and the faculty of awareness, my perspective towards my work, my family, my friends, and the whole world changed. And this was the biggest visible transformation for me and the people around me. I began to be more aware of myself, my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, and operating from this space. I was enjoying everything that I was doing. I stopped totally chasing after outcomes. I was always a taskmaster because I've been always working in the project management area. And you know how project managers are. Go, go, go. There's always a list of tasks. There's always outcomes you're running after. But not after that anymore. I was still working on the same projects, but my operation modus had quite changed. And I had stopped chasing after outcomes because I knew in my mind that I didn't have to chase. If I did it, being in the present, I knew I could get anything I wanted. And then miracles started to happen in my life, Veena. Outcomes started chasing me. Till that point of time, I was chasing outcomes. But the moment I left the outcomes alone, they started chasing me. Not that it made me any more or less happier, just because I was getting outcome, it did not make me any more happier, Veena. I was already in bliss. I didn't want anything. But by then I had realized that happiness is not dependent on any achievement or condition. You really don't have to get anything to be happy. The profound message that I realized was, Happiness is a state of mind. Irrespective of what you do, what you get, you can always be happy. And this path has shown me since that point of time to live a life with complete awareness in the present moment. And then I realized, Veena, that the whole life is only in this now. And once that realization came to me, my life, it really became a celebration. So if you just ask me, what happened after that, not that I changed much. I was still the same Saroja. Nothing changed physically, but everything changed. And everyone, it was very noticeable, even at work, even within my family, within friends, whatever was changing me, what was also influencing the people around me, Veena.
Yeah, that's so very amazing how you are there in eternity, here and now, all the time, and having that awareness. How was it like? And you have also done lot many workshops on ego mind, how and where to seek the happiness or explore your divine nature. So can you relate it this experience with getting off our identity and being in that eternal bliss?
Yeah. So once I was in that moment, Veena, a state of eternal happiness. I mean, especially at that time in 2003, 2004, where all these profound experiences was quite new to me. I was like totally enveloped by this beautiful happiness. And there it started my eagerness to share this happiness with all. I think every person, when they start enjoying life, one thing that comes into their mind is, if only I can share this happiness with all. And same thing happened with me, Veena. I was thinking, if life is so easy, if life can be so happy, why can't the whole humanity be happy? So I thought, all right, I'm going to share this with everyone. And that's where, my whole community work, which now has become bigger than Ben-Hur, but it started off in 2003 as just my eagerness to share my happiness with all. And as I was sharing the so-called little wisdom that I was gaining with my meditation, with my connection with in my inner journey, and the books I was reading, what I was really surprised, Veena, was people were slowly approaching me with their problems. Till then, nobody had ever come to me saying, okay, my life is going this way. People had come to me technically, work-wise. So I had always been mentoring them, but regarding life, never did anyone come. But I don't know what was changing in me that they could see. I slowly started seeing, Veena, if I would sit in a shopping center on a bench, I would see someone sitting next to me, starting a conversation and saying, by the way, my life is going like that. What do you think it is? And there I would sit there talking about all this profound wisdom that I was getting in volumes. And that conversation would extend. And not only in the shopping centers, it would be at work, Veena. I would sit at work at lunchtime, and my colleague would just drop in and she would sit down and she'd say, Saroja, I'm not able to do this conflict with this person. How do I manage? How can I put an end to this restlessness? And I would just sit there like a messiah, and things would just flow from my mouth. And before I knew, Veena, I had become an unofficial counselor at work within my friends. And I did not know, Veena, that was the beginning of my official counseling or a counselor role. And today, half of my time every day goes just in counseling. And I never realized that I don't have a counseling degree as such, but life has given me so much wisdom that I just sit there when people come to me, and all I do is just close my eyes. And it feels like there's a download of wisdom just going on, depending on whichever person comes into my life. So the answer to your question is, as I was getting connected to me more and more, the wisdom that was coming in me, the eagerness to share with everyone kept going more and more. So that's where I started my self-empowerment workshop platform, Veena. I always had in this mind about self-empowerment. You might be wondering, where this self-empowerment word has come to me. When I had this spiritual transformation, one thing that I realized, that we as human beings definitely do not explore our complete capability. Because, Veena, before my transformation, one thing I knew was I only knew very well about my physical side. I knew how capable I was physically. I knew how well I could work, how well I could talk, how well I could impress people. But I thought that was life alone. But when my transformation happened and I started connecting to real me, I realized that this physical part of me was 1/10 of who I am. And when I started exploring the 9/10 of who I am, I was hit by a shock wave. And then I thought, like how I was unaware of my 9/10. There are so many people in this world who think, oh, me poor thing, why is world treating me like this? I'm so victimized. I'm the poor thing. I need help. I thought, no, we need self-empowerment. That means we need to empower ourselves by knowing who we are. So that's why I started my platform of self-empowerment. And I call self-empowerment as the science of knowing who we truly are and our capabilities as human beings. And I also think, self-empowerment is also the art of training oneself to have that miraculous thinking that aids in the overall growth of the community. And then I thought, that's it. I'll call my platform Saroja Self-Empowerment Platform. And then people used to come to me and say, what does self-empowerment mean? And that word used to really attract them, Veena. So that way, I would have a chance to tell them, you do not know who you really are. And they would say, no, I know very well. I'm so-and-so, I'm Jane, I work for, I said, Jane, that's only 1/10 of you. There is also 9/10 of you who you do not know. And that would be an icebreaker for me. In a world, these days people are kind of very much happy to talk about self-discovery, but I'm talking about 19, 20 years back, especially in this part of the world, in the first world countries, sitting and talking about spirituality at work is not a very popular discussion. So I had to think for a while, and I thought, if I have to really reach the people, then one of the ways is by using a word that can literally reach the masses. And this self-empowerment did wonders, because the moment I would say, this is Saroja's self-empowerment platform, the first question I would get from people is, all right, why do you call it self-empowerment? And off I go. I would explain them what is self-empowerment. And the moment I would mention that you have got more than what you think, they would say, okay, can you tell us what we have got? And that's how I would start my workshops. So my first workshop that I had always started was, holistic living. And they would say, what do you mean by holistic living? And then I would tell them, you're not living holistically. You're only living by half or quarter of your part. You have to live completely. And then I would start telling them, how much world, there is a micro world, like how a macro universe outside. And all my workshops literally kicked off that way. So initial days, I used to hold workshops like explore your divine nature. And people would say, how can I explore my divine nature? And then I would slowly start telling them, there is divinity in all of us. We only think divinity lies in others because we do not want to take that responsibility of becoming divine. Divinity lies within you. And every workshop that I started off would start with the word self-empowerment. And that word really helped me so well. And as I went along, Veena, I think everything in our life happens for a reason. I come from a background, I'm born and brought up in India, though I belong to Andhra Pradesh, where people speak Telugu, but I was born in North India, in Madhya Pradesh, in a place called Gwalior. So my fluency in Hindi is very good. I'm very literary spoken and fluent in Hindi, because in my house, there are people who have done masters in Hindi literature, and Hindi just flows in our family. And I've written books in Hindi. So I'm very comfortable in Hindi. And of course, because of the education I had in English. So these three languages, I always used to think, I've got an affinity for languages. I love learning languages and all that. But when I stepped into the spiritual path and my self-empowerment community, these three languages, Veena, really came into play. Because then I could start doing my workshops and my counseling. I could reach people in need in all the three languages, in Hindi, English, and Telugu. And I was so surprised. And that's when I realized, everything, any skill that you acquire in your life has got a divine purpose. We may not understand why it is, but when the time comes, everything just falls in place, Veena. So as I was going on this path of Saroja's self-empowerment, this community work platform, every year, I mean, all this community work I was doing in parallel with my professional work, and my professional work is full on, Veena. So I was kind of managing my community work, which was just growing like a wildfire, and I was attracting the number of people into my lives. I would come back home after my work, which was like 10 hours work, come back, fix a meal for my family, look after my young children, make sure, their needs are met. And then 9 o'clock in the night, I'm sitting there picking phone calls. I would have like list of messages to answer because people were like, they needed my help in counseling. And I used to work quite late in the night on my community work, but it never made me tired, Veena. I used to get tired of my professional work after 12 hours, but I used to work late in the night trying to ring up people who were in need, who wanted my counseling, trying to do workshops. And my weekend was full of community workshop. My husband used to get quite worried because you're not getting enough rest. But I used to tell him, this is the work that really invigorates me. It doesn't make me tired. So just to give you a snapshot of how my community work started off, I don't even know when it became a wildfire, Veena. And off and on, the work that I thought was only my hobby or something that I had passion for, before I knew, became bigger than my professional work. And like in everyone's life, Veena, there comes a time where, you got to really weigh and see, it comes a point in life, and universe really tells you. So that's just a synopsis of my workshops that I was doing. So actually, when this platform grew so much, and I was traveling a lot doing workshops. I was going to Southeast Asia. I had traveled to US quite a lot. Now, this is not just on my professional work. This is on my Saroja self-empowerment platform that I was traveling. And I was traveling to India for the first World Parliament of Spirituality. We all know, Dr. Yogender was there, and I was the guest speaker there. Integrating spirituality into organization leadership. I was there in Chicago as a guest speaker. I was traveling a lot, Veena, as a guest speaker, as a keynote speaker. I never publicized. I didn't even have a website, but word spreads very quickly. All that community workshop that I was doing, and all that global counseling that I was doing, somehow the name was being dropped in different conferences, and I was getting invitation from all around the world. So the only challenge what I faced was, Veena, my international travels for my community work and keeping my professional work going on at the same time. That was the only time I felt the challenge, when I had to travel internationally for my community work. Otherwise, I was quite happy sitting in Melbourne, spending as much time as I could on workshops. And the weekends, the beautiful part is, Veena, when I was doing my weekend workshops, like all those workshops that you have just listed, which we'll definitely talk in more detail in a minute, the topic, I never had to think about the topic, Veena. I would just sit with closed eyes thinking, okay, I would sit on a Friday night, I have a workshop next day. I would never give the topic because people got so used to, they would just come in and they would just sit there, listen and interact. And I would sit there on Friday night, closing my eyes and thinking, what am I going to speak tomorrow? And it would just download. Okay, speak about explore your divine nature. Speak about holistic living. Speak about how to seek happiness. The day this downloaded in me, Veena, how to seek happiness, I never planned to do a workshop on how to seek happiness. I didn't even know that there could be a topic that I could talk about. And I thought, wow, isn't that a great topic? How to be happy. That's the only reason why we all are here. Everything that we do is to seek happiness. And you won't believe, I have done 52 workshops to date on how to seek happiness. Wherever I go, the first request that comes, Madam, can you do us a workshop on how to seek happiness? And then I realized that in this world, no matter how much research we have done on happiness, Veena, but it's always a catch-22. We get caught in the web of daily life, that how to seek happiness always remains a question mark. So all these workshops that I was doing on, simple matters, ego. How did it occur to me that I had to do ego? Again, sitting with closed eyes, I would reflect on my life. What was that was stopping me before this transformation came into? And clearly it was ego, Veena. My ego would not let me see anything beyond who I was physically. It never let me peer into who I was internally. And I thought, if ego can be such a big block for me, I'm sure, anyone in this universe would have similar problems. So why don't I talk about ego? And the day I started talking about ego, Veena, I have non-stop done hundreds of workshops just on ego. So any topic that came to me was not pre-planned. It was just a download that with closed eyes, I would like to connect myself and ask myself, what would this world need? How can I help humanity? And that topic would come, Veena. So, I mean, it's a long answer to your short question, but
Yes.
that's how things started happening.
It's so amazing.